for your hero to recognize what you do and then want it.
Yeah, that's
What else?
crazy.
Where do I go from here? That's it.
You reached the peak, man.
I have in this Rocky
Yeah,
world.
in the
That's
art
the peak,
world at least.
and absolutely, and in the Rocky world for sure.
Hey guys, I got a really fun video for you today. You're absolutely going to love it if you're a Stallone and Rocky fan. The guest, official Rocky artist John Rivoli, check him out on Instagram. I'll link it in the description below. Also check out his website, Icons and Art. You could pick up some of this amazing artwork. But we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Basically how he got started as an artist, how he eventually became the official Rocky artist. And of course, we're going to talk about Stallone. We're going to talk about Rocky. John is going to share his experience when he first met Sylvester Stallone, which is pretty amusing. Oh, make sure to stay until near the end of the video, by the way, because John's going to give us some insight into that Rocky IV director's cut. Like, is there a specific reason, do you know, why Stallone wanted to revisit that? Because in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, it's like the perfect movie. Anyway, all that and more, you don't want to miss it. Please hit the like button, help support the video, subscribe, share the video. And with that said, let's get on to this discussion. Just to start things off, so you're obviously like a really successful artist, you know, a lot of talent, like looking at your work with like Warner Brothers and obviously the Rocky stuff. Now, was there like a time, like a specific time, maybe when you were a kid where either you noticed or maybe a parent or a teacher was like, wow, this kid's got something. There's like a real gift, a real talent here.
Yeah, as far back as I can remember, I've been drawing and doing this. It's my earliest memories, and
Really?
yeah, parents knew, family, teachers. I remember they used to call and tell my parents, "Oh, this kid's got something," and whatnot. I remember this one really funny story. I think I was in first grade, maybe second grade, and we had to draw the human body. So
Okay.
I went to my teacher. I got paper and I laid out all this newsprint paper on the floor, so it's full size. And I asked her if she'd lay down so that I could trace her outline and then fill in everything that I wanted. And that was quite a story for her. She couldn't believe that I asked her to do that.
Yeah, that's something that I
Yeah,
don't, no kid in my school ever did that. We just drew it on a little piece of paper,
yeah.
you know?
I was always obsessed with film and television and characters. And in those days, look, we had what, 7 channels. There was no VCRs or DVD. There was none of that stuff.
Sure.
So when something came on, you were excited, you watched it, and it was over. What I would do is I would watch it and draw it and put it into like comic book form
Hmm.
so that I could have this little book of it. So when it was over, I could go back and kind of relive the film or the television show over again. So it was just a training ground. I was always drawing.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense, but it's really cool that you basically discovered your gift early on. Like some people never either discover their gift or they don't pursue it. But you obviously pursued it. And I'm assuming you were probably encouraged by parents and teachers because you went to college and basically studied that at a couple different universities, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I went to FIT in New York, which is a phenomenal school. I learned so much there. And part of my education there was to study oil painting in Florence, Italy. And that's where everything really changed for me. When I got there and got to go to the museums and see the master's work, and we would set up there, they would have us set up in the museum and paint what we saw and draw and try and recreate. That's when I really kind of honed in on skills and my direction of where I was going to go with the art. That was really the game changer for me. It was that time in Florence.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, when you went out there to Florence, did you just specifically go there for school or did you actually end up staying there because it's probably a really cool place to hang out and live in, I would think.
Yeah, no, I went there specifically for school, but they gave us 3-day weekends every weekend to encourage us to travel. So we would all get together on a train and go to Milan or Positano or Naples or Venice, wherever it was. So we really traveled about. And I kept a little scrapbook. I was doing watercolor paintings through that trip of all the things that I was seeing.
That's really cool. Okay, so you got your degrees and you got all your skills. So I guess as a kid, you were always interested in, like you said, movies and TV shows. So I guess it makes sense that you would work with like Warner Brothers and MGM. But How exactly did like you get in that position though? Because obviously, like, there's a lot of people who are artists or they go to school, but they don't get those cool gigs, right? In those
Yeah,
associations.
yeah, no, I know it's not. It's like one in a million kind of a thing,
Yeah.
you know. So I actually met my wife in college, and we started the design agency together. Right
Wow.
after, shortly after school, we started the design agency. And I got to be honest, what I did was I cold called the studios. I just kept calling them, saying, "Listen, I see you're working on this movie. I know this movie really, really well. I can be helpful." And it went nowhere, but I just kept calling over and over and over. And I remember my first one who took my call was a guy at Sony. So I flew out to California. I met him. I did work for him and went over really well. And as soon as I did that, he kind of shared me with the other studios.
Oh,
So now all those doors kind of opened up. So I just went, round robin to all the top 5 studios and got myself in. And just, once you do some good work for them, they just keep coming back.
that's cool.
That's how it
So
was. Pure perseverance, man. Just not
just
saying,
like Rocky, man.
just not taking the no. And there's plenty of no's. Listen, I got a stack of no letters this deep, you
All you need
know?
is that one yes, though. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And these are from all the same people who hire me now, but it's all the same studios. But I just said, I don't care. I'm just going to keep calling these people. Eventually they're going to say, yeah, come on over, and that's
Yeah.
what happened.
No,
Yeah.
that's good. You can't be scared of rejection, basically, because you're going to get
Yeah.
rejected. You're going to get that stack of no's, but all you need is that one yes to kind of open the door, and boom, it sounds like it blew everything right open.
Yeah, you can't have thin skin if you're an artist. You just can't. And I'm sure a lot of them do. I don't. I just don't care. I do what I think is right and what I think is cool. And if they have criticism, that's fine. But I don't care.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
basically, when you started working for Sony and then the other studios, was it primarily like movie posters or was it something else you were working on?
No, it was, every time a movie comes out, they have to put together a consumer products and licensing program around them. So when you go in the store and you see T-shirts and backpacks and lunchboxes and board games and all that stuff that has a movie on it, like Harry Potter,
Sure.
right? Those companies aren't making that art. All that art comes from one book, like a Bible for the film. It's called the Style Guide. I would get hired to do that. So I would get the script, I would read it so I know what was going on. I'd see early stuff from the set as far as so I could determine what the color palette might be, what the feel was. And then I have to create art that corresponds with the film. So they live together.
Okay.
So if it's an animated, I'll do all the characters. If it's SpongeBob, we would draw all those characters, or Wonder Woman, we draw all that stuff. And then we come up with all the rules. Here's the colors you're allowed to use. Here are the fonts you're allowed to use. This is the packaging. Like, we do everything that you see in the stores worldwide. It all comes from one group, and it's usually us who are doing that. So that's what I would get hired for. And then just as you get in with these folks and they start to see what else you can do, then you start doing some poster stuff. You kind of throw it out there. Hey, I have this idea. And like, oh, okay. So you do that. And that's how it kind of grows.
Oh, that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Is there like one specific movie poster that like you're the most proud of? Because either it was just such a big movie and literally everybody on the planet has probably seen your work on this poster, or it was just like, oh, this is such a cool design. This is my favorite one.
I would say these 2 teaser posters I did for Batman versus Superman. There were these 2 teaser posters that I have Batman and I have Superman. They're 2 separate posters, but I covered their face. So you couldn't see the actors.
Okay.
So for Batman, I have Superman's logo torn and thrown on his face, and vice versa, because I'm kind of a truist with these properties, and to me, it's about the mythology of Batman. And it's not about that actor, but they make it about those actors, and it kind of gets under my skin. So I covered them, and they didn't like it, but these really went over well. Like, people who got it really, really appreciated that. So I've always been really proud of those 2 pieces of art, because it was a statement at the same time.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, Batman and Superman are the stars, not the actors playing them.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. Don't worry
Yeah.
about who's in the thing. Don't worry about it. It's not about that.
Here's the interesting thing. So if you think about somebody like Sylvester Stallone, and he's one of the few guys, in my opinion, who's done this simultaneously. Rocky and Rambo are the stars, but Stallone is as well, which you can't say about a lot of actors and characters. It's like that. That's why I don't even like the idea of Stallone bringing up doing a like a series that takes place before Rambo or before Rocky. It's like, no, because it's not going to be you. Like, you are literally this character, even though you're not, like, you are in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
like you can't have somebody else play Rambo or Rocky. It just, you can't do it. It shouldn't be done.
Well, to that point, the thing that separates Sly from most other actors, from 99% of the other actors, Sly is a true artist. He's an artist in every sense of the word. And he's an icon. He is a pop culture icon. He himself is. This guy goes to Italy. It's like, the gods are here. Like, you should see the crowds. Like, and I know these other stars get this stuff, but Sly wakes up in the morning with a blank sheet of paper and creates these characters and these stories. That is an artist, man, as opposed to being a performer who is given that stuff. And you got to bring a great, performance to that. That's fine. That's different. Sly's an artist, so that's why he's so much bigger than these other people. He's bigger. He's a bigger force of energy than all the others.
Oh, definitely. It wasn't until I was in high school when I realized that, because even as a child, I loved like Rambo 2 and Rocky 4. And I always loved Stallone, right, as an actor and a performer. Yeah. But then it wasn't until I was in high school when I realized, wait a minute, this dude actually wrote this stuff. And then he directed a lot of it. Like, this man is an absolute genius. Yes, like, he is an absolute genius. He literally created the whole thing from start to finish.
That's right. I always say you can count on one hand the real true artist on the planet, and he always is at the top of that list for me for the things that you just said. He created this stuff. You know how hard it is to do that? I don't know if people understand. Like, and I've done a lot of these things. The hardest thing is writing a script from start to finish. It is the hardest undertaking you will ever take as a creative. And Sly makes it look easy. Look, to come up with one huge thing, okay. But he comes up with Rocky, then has Rambo, and then to a certain extent, the Expendables. Like, he always has
fourth one now.
Franchise characters that are just larger than life, and people love it. He's got the golden touch,
Yeah. Speaking of writing, I noticed on IMDb you're credited with like 2 short films. So is this something you want to continue to pursue or not necessarily?
Yeah, no, I've been writing for a long time. I've worked on stuff that, but I'm not on for whatever reason, but yeah, I continue to do that. And I'm working right now with a really great writer, Robert Bruzio. He did that movie, Bottom of the Ninth, which is kind of a Rocky-esque kind of a film. In fact, he had the production team of Rocky make his movie, so it was pretty cool.
Well, very cool. I never heard of that movie.
Yeah, you got to check it out. And so we are in the middle of a script right now, which is a Rocky kind of installment, kind of a thing, without being a Rocky film. It's written from our viewpoint, kind of a thing. So it's really cool. So hopefully I'll be able to share more about that soon.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that. Getting back on track though, so with you basically creating design books and then moving on the movie posters and then obviously working with MGM, who owns the Rocky franchise. Like, can you tell us about the moment and like how you got involved to basically be the official Rocky artist?
Yeah, sure. As you had mentioned, MGM was a client of mine, and I used to reach out to them periodically and say, listen, if you do a style guide for Rocky, you got to call me. Like, I'm the Rocky guy. Like, and they're like, yeah, no, seriously. Like, I'm the Rocky guy. You want to come to me for this, And they kind of, dismissed it or whatever. And years went by, and I kept doing this over and over. And then the 35th anniversary rolled around of Rocky, and they called me and said they wanted to do one of these style guides.
Wow.
So I finally got the call, So I was putting everything into this. I just dumped everything I had into this work. And it was a huge collection of artwork. There's probably 30 pieces of art that I had done for this particular book.
Is this the 35th anniversary or is this the 40th? Did you do this?
No, I didn't do that.
You didn't do this?
No, I don't know. That looks like 40 though, I think.
Oh, interesting.
I think that's 40. Yeah. Yeah, no, MGM did that in-house.
Oh, okay.
So I did all this work. What I didn't know is that MGM was secretly planning on arranging for me to present all this art to Sly.
Wow.
Myself.
Sure.
Which was like one of the nicest things ever, So I finished the work and I remember I got this call on a Tuesday and they're like, you need to be out in LA tomorrow morning. And I'm in New York. I'm like,
oh, wow.
What? Like,
wow, that's a lot of heads up.
yeah, because you don't know his schedule. So he finally got, okay, come tomorrow.
Okay.
And they're like, all right, you need to get out here. I'm like, what?
It's the chance of a lifetime. You can't pass it by.
So I moved mountains to get on a plane to get out there the next morning. MGM picked me up. I changed in the car kind of a thing, and they swooped me over to Sly's offices in Beverly Hills. So I got to go in there, and I remember walking in. There's this life-size Rocky IV right in there, cool. Statue when you walk in. And they brought me to the conference room, and I laid out all of my artwork. And then I was just waiting, And I'll never forget, I didn't see him first. I heard him. He was talking to somebody as he was coming down the hallway. And that voice, when you hear it in person, this deep baritone, and it really struck me. I'll never forget that I heard. I was like, oh my God, he's here. Because I heard him. And I'm just like staring out, and then from around the corner, here he comes straight at me. And I'm like, this is it. Here we go, Yeah. And it was great. But because, MGM introduced me. And they're like, oh, this is a Rocky aficionado. We just flew him in from New York. He did all. So I was like, man, that's a good intro to meet your hero. You don't have to be like, oh my God, Sly, I love your work. I've seen everything. I didn't have to do any of that.
Nice.
I just skipped right over that. And they just presented me as this, this special guy.
Sure.
So he's looking at it, and then we just immediately got into art conversation. Well, how did you do this? How do you achieve that texture? And I'm thinking, oh my God, like Rocky is asking me how I did something. Like, could this be any better of a moment, And that's how that first meeting went. It was just mutual artist respect and questions and stuff. So it was the best way to meet that I could have ever asked for. It was the best. I remember calling my dad going, yeah, Rocky was asking me how I painted something, it was that kind of a thing.
That's like how a mutual respect thing going on, as opposed to you're just idolizing, exactly. Like our hero, it's just that's really cool.
Which he gets all the time,
Sure. Sure.
I didn't want to do that. So it was just a great circumstance that MGM just kind of introed me as this artist and whatnot. And it was great. He had one of his paintings on the wall. So I immediately asked him about his, and it was that kind of a thing. And that was the first meeting. That's how it started. Just, see him, he knows who I am.
Yeah.
So then now the 40th is coming.
Okay.
40th anniversary. That was 35. Now the 40th. And MGM calls again to do it. So I did it again. I did all of this artwork again for Sly, and I got to see him and all this stuff. But this is when two things happen. One, I kind of hit my look and feel of what I do now for icons and art, what that feel is, because for the 40th, I really want to try to capture the grit and the grime and the dirt of Philadelphia in 76. So that was the look I was going for. And I kind of established this style that I now have. That's where it happened, was on that 40th anniversary. And I think Sly recognized that, because shortly after that is when he asked me if I would be interested in doing that large painting, the one that became Million to One Shot, right? The one that TMZ was there filming, and when I gave it to him and stuff like that moment. So that is kind of how it progressed. It was doing the work, presenting, and then him saying, do you want to do a painting? Because he wanted to hang it in Beverly Hills.
Oh, cool.
So I remember saying, he explained what he wanted. It's Rocky and he's larger than life and there's Philadelphia and forced perspective and all this stuff. He was telling me everything. He's like, so you want to do it? And I remember saying, there's nobody better. What did I just say? What the hell did I just say? I remember I was so worried. I was like, I called home. I was like, I can't believe I said yes to this thing. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I can do it, and this and that. But that was the moment where you just kind of stick your neck out and say, yeah, I'll do this. There's nobody better. I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
So I went back to New York and I painted. And a couple months later, I was done. And I brought it out to LA and presented it to him. And that's that video that I post from time to time of me giving that first piece of art. And that was the birth of Icons in Art, because once he saw that one, he asked for two more. And people started reaching out to me going, oh, can I buy one of those? Where can I get it? And I thought maybe there's something here.
Sure.
So that's why I decided I'm going to form this Rocky Art initiative. And I went to MGM and asked them, can I be, the official Rocky artist? And given my relationship, I had just finished RoboCop for them and Fargo and all their Pink Panther. So it was a natural yes for them. And that's how I became the official Rocky artist.
That's really cool. So basically, before that, did they just not have an official Rocky artist, or?
No, I think they had people who did paintings from time to time and were able to sell them, but they didn't have somebody who was like, this is my mission, Okay. Like I had a mission statement from on screen to on canvas. I was going to retell Rocky through artwork. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to retell it to make it kind of the first time for people again through the way that I do it. And that was my mission. So no, they didn't have anybody who wanted to do that. They didn't have anybody crazy enough who wanted to take that on.
Speaking of like Stallone, he's an artist in many ways, but also like a painter, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you know if he's ever had formal training or not?
I don't think he has. But like with most of the things he delves into, even writing, which I don't think he had formal training, he somehow knows the rules of the road, and it's instinctual. Clearly, it's just instinctual. Sure. He knows what to do. If you look at Rocky as a writer, he knew the rules. He understood structure. He understood reverses. He understood all of those things that make a great story, know? And for that to be one of the first things that you write, it's like, wow, that's just a guy born to do this. It's the same thing with painting. I love his work. His work is large and powerful, and there's incredible energy to it. It's abstract. He has an abstract look, but he just attacks that canvas. And his use of colors and his, offsetting of shapes and misdirection of strokes. Like he knows all the things that make a great painting, right? A focal point, different textures, changing direction of he knows it all. Somehow he knows it all.
That's funny. Yeah. Going back to his writing real quick, though, structure aside, he's just got something where he knows how to create a character that you actually care about. And that's one of the most important things in film. That's why we talk so much about not only the movie, but just the character so beloved. Like everybody loves Rocky,
Absolutely. Everybody loves Rocky. And it's because of the character that he built and the way that he introduces that character to us, right? Show, don't tell. Action is character. So you see, that walk home in the beginning when he stops in the pet store and he's making his rounds, walking down the street, picking up the bump, all those things of showing what this person is. Every scene during that walk, we're learning more about this person. We're liking him more and more and more. And that's just genius to do, rather than saying, oh, he's a good guy and people talking about him. None of that. He just shows us stuff, with almost no dialogue. And you're like, genius.
Well, the cool thing about Rocky, though, like it transcends just entertainment, because isn't that the film that basically inspired you to like really work out and get on your fitness journey?
Oh, no doubt. I wanted to be Rocky. Who didn't want to look like Rocky? I remember, I was 8 years old when Rocky came out, and I saw it in the movie theaters 13 times. 13 times I went to that theater, different theaters, to see it over and over and over. I was immediately obsessed. Something changed after I saw that movie. I knew it. It's just like, man, I'm going to go for it. Nobody's going to stop me. That was the kind of the stuff that was being put into me. And I remember going home and asking for weights. I needed weights, And I remember my grandmother, who never said no to anything, she ran to Sears and got me those silver, sand-filled weights.
Yeah, I had those too.
Back in the 70s, yeah. And I set up and I just started working out. And I've been doing it my whole life. I've never stopped.
Yeah, me too. So I started in the 80s. It's crazy if you think about the motivation Stallone and his characters have done. Like, you started in the 70s. Well, I guess technically I started working out in the 90s. And then, like, I'm talking to like a young dude. He's like maybe 25, and Stallone's the one that inspired him the most. So it just goes from generation to generation,
I know, right? There's something about it. It's almost, because you feel like it's almost achievable. It's not like an Arnold or a Haney or any of those guys. That's a different thing. But Sly, you look at it and you go, I might be able to do that.
Yeah. He's like, this is relatable.
Right,
through hard work and
relatable.
grit. This is relatable and doable. Sure.
That's right. Yeah, and he just has this physique that you think you can get. Now, most of us never get past Rocky 2. We kind of stay there. We can't make that leap to 3 and 4. We just can't do it.
4 was insane. I love 4.
4 was insane. That was his peak. That and Rambo 3, right? I mean, you just look at him, it's like, okay, now he's somewhere else. I'm not going to get there, but we keep telling ourselves, maybe if we just change our diet tomorrow, maybe it'll start.
No more pizzas. We'll get there.
Yeah. Well, as an Italian, that's not going to happen. So I came to terms with that.
Even as a non-Italian, I can't put the pizzas down, man.
Exactly. And why should we?
Yeah, I mean, the life wouldn't be as good without them.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, do you have a specific favorite Rocky movie?
Oh, 1.
Oh, it's the first one by far.
Yeah. Well, 1 and Rocky Balboa. Those 2.
Balboa recaptured that magic 100%.
Those are the 2 for me. Everything in the middle is those 2. You can just show those 2 together, and it's like Godfather 1 and 2 together, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I just 1 is just magic. It's magic in a bottle, man. Everything worked. Right cast, the right camera being invented. Bill Conti's music, those steps, like everything was perfect.
Yeah,
it's a perfect
they caught lightning in a bottle.
Perfect film. It's hard to capture that often.
It is. And I think a lot of it had to do because that was your first exposure to him as a child. And like you said, you watch it 13 times in the theater. Like, whereas me, I like them all, but I think Rocky 4 is my favorite. But again, that was my first exposure to him. And I watched it so many times because my dad had like a VHS cassette of it. So it's like, and we didn't have cable. So literally I would watch that movie at least once a week.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still doing that. I still have a Rocky movie on all the time.
Oh yeah, as you should. Yeah, me too. That's why I got this set. I'm always playing these, but exactly. I got to revisit them like every year at least. It's like, oh, let's just go through that series again.
And I go through 1 a lot because I'm always kind of looking in there for stuff to pull out. I'm looking.
Speaking of which, you just did that. You've just pulled something out. I've seen a recent post on your IG, a new painting from that iconic battle against Creed. Like, what was it, the 14th round or something?
Yeah, round 14. Yeah. My favorite moment in all films. That's my favorite moment, if you ever ask me. Round 14.
And when I've seen your post the other day, it reminds me, because my brother always points out that scene where you see Apollo, he's just like, he's just so frustrated. It's like, man, this is like the Terminator I'm fighting over here.
That's a brilliant piece of acting by Carl Weathers right there, right? But he gives you in that look like this friggin' guy, where did he come from? I mean, it's just such a powerful, that whole scene is just so powerful around 14. It's iconic. I've done 4 paintings based on round 14 now. 4.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, where you got your ideas and inspiration for the different paintings. So it sounds like you just keep rewatching these films and there's certain scenes that you'll like, okay, I got to recreate this feel and emotion and somehow in a painting.
Yeah. What I try to do, because there's a lot of artists in the world, a lot of people who paint Rocky stuff, and they're great. There's a lot of good Rocky art out in the world. So what was I going to do to separate myself from this pack? I decided early on that I was going to come at this from a different approach. I wasn't just going to copy photos and stuff like you see all over the place. Now, some of them are so iconic you have to do it, like the Rocky 3 poster image and, you know, round 10 from the first film. Some of them are just iconic and you got to do it because people want it. But my thing was I wanted to go in and show something that hadn't been seen before. So, for instance, in round 14, when Rocky gets up and he pulls Creed into the corner and starts unloading on him, you know, that is shot from one angle, looking right at Rocky, and we only see Creed from behind. And I always thought the power of that shot was on the other angle. If John Albertson, the director, had moved that camera to the other side from the audience perspective, so we could see Creed's face as his ribs are being shattered in that moment, I thought that's the money shot. So that's something that I had to come up with myself. I have to draft that. It doesn't exist. He didn't film that. So I had to do that. So that was, I'm always trying to come up with moments like that that we haven't seen. And in that round when Rocky goes down and Mickey's saying, down, down, stay down, right? I move the angle again to Mickey's eye POV. What is Mickey looking at when he says that to Rocky as Rocky's struggling to get up?
Yeah.
You know, so I painted that thing. So that was how I was going to approach this Rocky art, is that I wanted to give people things they hadn't seen before. So it feels like they're kind of seeing Rocky for the first time again. And that was my motivation.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's how I'm always trying to come up with stuff, is I'm always just thinking. I'm watching the film and then thinking, what's a different way of shooting that? You know, you're putting on your writer director hat for a second and then moving to the artist, right? What's the other way of looking at it? Now I'll paint that.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Now you mentioned like the other Rocky art out there. Those people can't sell it though, right? Because they're not a licensee like you are.
Yeah, no, they're not supposed to, and a lot of them do, but it's black market, you know, it's illegal because nobody gets, like MGM doesn't benefit from that. Sly doesn't benefit from that. Like that shouldn't be happening, you know?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I noticed on Icons and Art, so you also got like you got some nice Rambo pieces as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had to move into Rambo, obviously, you know? Yeah. So I have the permission to do that as well. And I've actually got a new one coming out that's very soon, of Rambo and Cobra. I have coming.
Oh, Cobra. Because I was going to ask, are you going to do any other ones like, oh, I love Over the Top. You can do anything with Over the Top?
Oh, yeah, I will be. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I loved Over the Top. So
Yeah,
all these in the theater, man. Anything he came out with, I was there. Like mostly opening night. Like, every Rocky except for one, I was there opening night. Every one of them. Yeah.
Now, what's your all-time favorite piece and why?
Yeah, it's behind me. I set it
Oh,
up.
that one.
Yeah. That's why it's there. Yeah.
Okay.
Alone in the Ring. That's my favorite piece. That's Sly's favorite piece too.
Is it?
And that's going to be his. That's going to his house. That's going to be his. Yeah. So that is my favorite piece because it says so much, you know, and it's one of my favorite scenes in the film is that the night before the fight.
Yeah, they got the short color wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't really matter, does it?
Mr. Jurgens, the poster's wrong.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm wearing white pants with a red stripe.
He goes there, and that's really where the character figures out what he's in, right? He understands he's in something way bigger than him, way bigger than he imagined when he's in there, right? And then Jurgens walks in and what brings you here and all that stuff, and the poster's wrong, right? And what does he say? It really doesn't matter, does it?
I'm sure you're going to give us a great show.
And you see Rocky's face, and in that moment, he realizes, this guy, they have no respect for me. I'm a throwaway, right? I'm just, he doesn't even think I have the talent to even win or be in here. I shouldn't even be in this thing, you know? And that is such a pivotal moment in the film, because that's when he moves away from, the character moves away from his want to win the fight, which is what he originally wants to do. He moves to his need, which is to prove he's not a bum.
Yeah.
And he is worth something, you know? And that's where he decides, and he goes home and tells Adrian, all I want to do is go the distance. He knows he's not going to win, but if he can go the distance, that's his win, right? So
It's
So-
haunting. I get the
It's
chills.
haunting. I got it. It's so powerful, you know. And I labored over this piece for a long time because, as an artist, I knew to do this right, I got to make Rocky like this big in the painting. That's the point. I got to make him like this big because I got to show the gravity of this moment and how small he realizes he is. And I labored because I did different versions of this where him big, kind of zoomed in on him in the background. And I thought, well, this will sell better. So I should maybe do this because people want to see Rocky. And I labored and labored. And finally, I just threw those other ones away. I said, nah, I'm going to be an artist. This is the right thing to do. This is how I'm presenting it. If they want it, they'll buy it. If they don't, that's fine. But this is how you tell that story in that moment.
Yeah,
so
that
that
makes
is one
sense.
that I'm most proud of is that particular piece.
Wow. And Stallone's
Yeah.
going to basically hang this up in his house, it sounds like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's got some others. He's got the 1,000,000 shot,
Sure.
the very first one. Yeah. And then I did some personal stuff for him like that. He posted the one from his college film that he did in the 70s, Horses, you know, so I did a
haven't heard
painting
of
of
that one.
him
Interesting.
and John Hirschfeld, who is, you know, his best friend since college. So I did this painting of them. You know, John asked me to do that for Sly's birthday a couple of years
Okay.
ago. So I did
Wow.
that, and he's got some sketches and stuff. So yeah, to me, I've achieved, like, that's my success. Like, I went the distance. I've made it. Like, for your hero to recognize what you do and then want it,
Yeah, that's
What else?
crazy.
where do I go from here? That's it. You know,
You reached the peak, man.
I have in this Rocky
Yeah,
world,
in the
that's
art world,
me,
at least.
You know, absolutely. And in the Rocky world, for sure. Just the fact that Sylvester Stallone recognizes something in me. It's such a poetic story because you're an 8-year-old kid. This character inspires you to do what you're doing in life, and this whole journey brings you to him, right to the man who inspired you, and he says, "Yeah, you're really good. You're good." And
That's kind of surreal, isn't it?
I mean, and there's a script. Maybe that's a movie. I mean, that is.
There you go.
that's
Like the
quite
story
a movie.
behind it is very interesting, right? It's like
Quite
you
a
can't make
story.
that stuff up.
No, I've posted pictures of myself on IG of me as a like a 10-year-old with standing next to mimicking the posters of Rocky on my wall.
Yeah,
you know,
I've
trying
seen
to-
that picture. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
funny.
then I'm standing
Comes
next
full
to him.
circle.
Yeah, in real life, and he's holding my art. Like, it's incredible. You pinch yourself.
This painting, real quick. So this is something we can buy also.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
how many
you can buy-
copies are you going to make? Because I know a lot of your stuff's limited edition, right?
yeah. You can get that on iconsandart.com, and yeah, they're all different editions. I think I did 200. I think of this one's a small edition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, small edition. But yeah,
Wow.
that's if you're gonna get one piece, like, that's the one, because that kind of tells the story of Rocky and why you love him.
Yeah, no, that
I
is
relate
a
to him.
beautiful, iconic, brilliant scene.
Yeah, and it's
Capture
why he's
that really-
relatable.
Yeah, it makes sense that you, like you mentioned, you make him so small in there compared to just being like the center of it, you
Yeah.
know?
Right, exactly. And you labor over that as an artist because you're also trying to sell it, right? And you're thinking,
Yeah, sure.
who's gonna buy it? You know, but I think maybe that's the bestseller, by the way. I think that's probably my bestseller. So it's funny, you second guess yourself, but you do the right thing and it works out.
That's
Yeah.
really cool painting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then next to that is that's another scene that's not in the movie, when he knocks Creed down in the first round. But we don't see the moment of him standing over him. And I was trying to capture the
Muhammad Ali thing, right?
Listen, yeah, I wanted to mimic that composition.
That is cool.
And get that. So that's Creed is down. That was another one that photo doesn't exist. You can't pull up that photo on Google. It doesn't exist. I made that. You know,
That's awesome, man.
I just wanted to make something to capture that moment of him standing over him. His look is like, holy what just happened? Did I knock him down? You know, you can see it on his face, like he's in disbelief.
Hey, have you ever thought about, because obviously you got a lot of good ideas and you're putting yourself almost like back in time, like if you were directing the movie and the shots you wanted, Have you ever thought about like, because I know you got kind of tinkered with the writing. Have you ever thought about like film directing or anything someday?
I did think about it. I had written this one script that I thought, if any, I should really direct this one. It was an animated, so I was like, I just see it. I see it. You know, if you want to direct, you know, because you have that vision. Like you see every scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you're writing it so well. So yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe one day I'll be able to bring that vision to a
Oh,
different
that's
medium
cool.
like
Okay.
that. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yeah,
The Rocky 4 remake, like, have you seen the whole film?
not the whole film. No,
Just like the end fight?
no, I saw a lot throughout the film itself.
Oh, so was like Sloan just sending you clips of it so you could get ideas for the artwork and posters?
Yeah, it wasn't sending it, but I was working on the documentary, the making of. So I got
Okay.
to see a lot of the process and what was happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, is there a specific reason, do you know why Sloan wanted to revisit that? Because in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, it's like the perfect movie. I mean, yes, it's a little slim and kind of like a music video in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
it's perfection. Do you know why? Like, have you talked with him, like, as far as him wanting to kind of add that extra 40 minutes?
I think that it was a timing thing. You know, COVID hit and a lot of stuff shut down, a lot of production shut down. So
Yeah.
people like Sly found themselves with time on their hands. So they were able to go back and maybe, you know, take another look at a past project. And if there was something that was always kind of, you know, an itch about something, this was the opportunity to go in and kind of fine tune and, you know, give it a slightly different vision. So I think that's really what it came down to, was just COVID kind of really made that happen, because he found himself with time on his hands, and he always wanted to kind of work on that film a little bit, you know, because there's a lot of good stuff in that movie. There's a lot of great outtakes and stuff that hasn't been seen. It was definitely a deeper story, you know, a heavier story, but the cut that we all saw was with, you know, was a lighter version. So he definitely went back to something with a lot more meat on it.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's like a lot of, you know, as horrible as the whole pandemic thing was and still is, there's like some silver linings there where people kind of reassess their lives and maybe pursued passions, or like you said, people had more time in their hands, like Stallone. And I mean, for the fans, we're getting something that otherwise we would have never gotten. And I got my tickets already. So November 11th, I'm so excited, man. Like,
Yeah,
this is probably going to be, I don't think I'm ever going to see something as I'm excited about in the theater as like this. This is like it. It's all downhill after this.
yeah. Yeah, I was at opening night of when it came out in '85.
Wow.
I still remember everything about it, where I was, the huge line, the excitement. So I was there for that one. So,
That's
and then
cool.
I'll be at the premiere for this one in Philly with
That's
Sly.
awesome. Is Stallone
Yeah.
going to be at the premiere? Do you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh
Really
yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Of
just
course.
watch it at my local theater. Not as cool. We won't have anybody as cool as you and Sloan there, but it'll still be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna look. You're gonna really be happy because you know, he really goes deeper into character development in
Nice.
this version. You know, we get a lot more understanding of Drago,
Okay.
and certainly a lot more of the motivation behind Rocky's wanting to fight him. You know,
Yeah.
so it's definitely it's a good film. It's really good. I can't wait to see the final product too.
So where can you tell the audience where they could follow you and a couple different sites or social media platforms you have?
Sure, on Instagram, um, John underscore Rivoli is my handle, where I do a lot. You see, I do a lot of posting there
Yeah, it's good stuff.
about Rocky and Rambo, but a lot of, you know, I do a lot of explaining of the art and why it's important, what I did, and what's the reasoning behind it, what's the thought process. Because to me, the story is as important as the art itself, you know, and people find that really interesting. I've noticed they really like the buildup of why I chose to do something. So I give a lot of good content there. And then all of that, of course, is on the site iconsandart.com. where I keep everybody up to date. I put a lot of stuff there. Obviously, all the art is there that you can see and buy. And also, there's a couple. About the Rocky Run, right?
The Rocky what?
The Rocky Run.
The Rocky is that something they do every year?
Yeah.
Really? Like a marathon or what?
Yes. If you haven't, you have to experience this. If you haven't done it, you got to make a trip to this.
Wow. It's a full marathon though.
It's broken up into different levels. So you can do I think it's a 5K or 8K and then the 13, you know what I mean? Like it's broken up into different, whatever your ability is. And it's amazing. You run all through Philly. They make this great route. You end at the steps, at the Rocky steps. So really Philadelphia gets taken over for a few days by Rocky.
That's funny.
Everybody's dressed it's incredible. Like 10, 15,000 people ascend onto Philadelphia for this event. And I'm there all the time. In fact, it corresponds with the premiere this year. Yeah, so I'll be there the 11th, the 12th, and the actual run is the 13th. This is an incredible event. So I'm there set up with all my artwork. I'll have originals there and stuff, and I get to talk to fans. It's great,
It's cool.
We do photo ops and all that stuff. So that's really important. And, anybody who's in New York or the East Coast, there's an event, actually a boxing event. Called, it's run by Contenders Gym, and it's in Westchester in a place called Mayopac. And they're having these boxing matches, full boxing matches. And I'll be there set up with my artwork too. I'll have this Rocky section in there that people can come meet me and stuff, and we can talk Rocky and all that.
That's cool. I remember Stallone years ago was doing that Contender reality series with boxing. So is it kind of still related to that?
No, it's just a coincidence that this gym happens to be called Contender. Yeah, it's just a coincidence. But they've been doing this for many years. I didn't know. This is the first year that I'm going to participate.
Okay.
But they've got some name people there and stuff. It's a pretty cool event,
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm actually surprised I never heard about that Rocky Run though. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a big deal. The Rocky Run. That's a huge, huge deal. You got to check that out. They have a website, Rocky Run, I guess it is. That Contenders event is October 14th, and the Rocky Run is November 13th.
Okay.
But even if you don't run in it, you should come down to the steps, the Rocky steps.
Well, you got to at least run up the steps.
and be there, and I'll be there, and you can see all the stuff. And who knows, maybe Sly will stop by. You don't know. He's in town.
He should stop by.
You know what I mean? So you never know.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.